Hello, hello. Welcome to another reading. This feels partnership related. It might be because of this Libra full moon coming up or just some themes that have been coming up. I'm also wearing pink, which reminds me of the higher heart. So let's first see what is going on with you right now to see if this reading is for you. But partnership is on the brain. Codependency is a theme that's coming up right now, as well as closing out some karmic cycles and themes when it comes to partnerships. This Aries Libra nodal axis that we are closing out at this time has been happening for the last 2 years. So perhaps in the last 2 years, you've been met with a lot of karmic lessons when it comes to partnership for you, specifically when it comes to the balance between self and other. There may have been some wounding, some limiting beliefs, what I'm also hearing is just some traits that you learned growing up that contributed to unhealthy partnership in some capacity for you. Are we trying to clear our throat? Is there something that needs to be said? All right, Spirit, can you please show me this collective's energy when it comes to partnership, please? And thank you. Oh, no, fell on the floor. Please stop. Okay, 1 second. I don't know what is going on here. Of course. As I'm clearing my throat, we got heart-to-heart conversations. Okay, interesting. So it feels like for whoever I'm talking to, there is a person, a relationship, something significant that has been top of mind for you. Um, it's unclear right now if you are in each other's space. I don't feel like it is, but we'll see. However, it feels like this relationship felt like bliss with honeymoon here. It may have also been a short-lived romance or something that wasn't necessarily long term, but when you were together, there was a feeling of almost being like on vacation. Like it was very in your own world. And we got pay attention to the red flags. So there were some red flags that were coming up despite that bliss that you would feel with each other. And there may have just been conflicting emotions as to whether or not this was aligned. Now, we have heart-to-heart conversations here. So it does feel, especially with all of this that's coming up with me in my throat, it feels like there is something that was left unsaid. Maybe this was left open-ended, or there was no closure, or there's just something here about things not being said that may be top of mind right now. Perhaps it has to do with some of the red flags that you were picking up on, or perhaps red flags that you were practicing within the relationship. But we also got religious factors here. So there was something about either your religious upbringing, your spiritual path, or something around beliefs, a belief system that may have gotten in the middle of this, or may have even gotten. I'm hearing a couple things. It may have been like a family thing, like perhaps your family didn't approve of this person because of their beliefs or their spiritual practice. But I'm also feeling like there may have been some sort of spiritual awakening or something that has transpired over the course of you knowing this person, and perhaps that's something you want to talk about. But let's see. Pay attention to the red flags. Tell me more. Past life relationship. So y'all know each other. I want one more for that, please. Reconciliation. Okay, so you may have you may have known off top when you met this person that we've done this before. You're familiar to me, romantic feelings. It may have been incredibly romantic. Release your ex at the top. It may have been incredibly romantic immediately because it's almost like you picked up right where you left off, even if you didn't know where you left off or why you were feeling this for this person that you just met. Oh, okay. So with the reconciliation here, it does, reconciliation can talk about reconciling, you know, now, especially with this heart to heart conversations. Perhaps reconciliation is something that was on your mind with this person, just wanting to meet up again, wanting to talk again, wanting to bring balance back into this situation in whatever way that means for you. But what I'm also getting is you both plan to meet again in this life with past life and reconciliation coming up, but then also pay attention to the red flags. What I'm getting with this is you're very significant to each other when it came to breaking out of those karmic cycles I was mentioning. You kind of teamed up on that on purpose before you even incarnated into this life. You both signed up to do this together. We're going to meet again in this life. I'm going to help you break through A, B, C, and D, vice versa. And so this reconciliation, this past life connection was coming back to break you out of a karmic pattern or cycle that has been going on for however long so that you could really liberate yourself in this life when it came to relationship, when it came to your heart space, when it came to your energy. That's actually really beautiful. And again, with release your ex at the top, it may have something to do with someone who was involved in your life prior to this person or a past relationship of some kind. Um, we'll see. We'll see if it comes out, but let's keep going. Honeymoon. Oh, excuse me. Confirmation. Yeah, for yourself. There was something about this connection that freed you in some way. I think that's why you felt bliss. And what I'm getting is you didn't have to perform, even if that may have been your coping mechanism or your defense mechanism, and maybe you did it even without trying to. This person, this relationship, your connection, and again, goes back far beyond this life. That sense of familiar energy, that sense of what's coming up for me, home, allowed you to show up as you are. You know, your walls can come down. You don't have to pretend to be anyone other than who you are, especially because this person sees you already. They know you on a soul level. And while that can be scary sometimes, I think it gave you a sense of liberation that allowed you to experience that joy and bliss that might have been fleeting or missing in other relationships. Heart to heart conversations. Oh, engagement. Soulmate. I don't know, y'all. Maybe you just realize this person is your person. Take it as it resonates. We will get specifics, please. Don't start creating a fairy tale in your mind that is not rooted in some sort of foundational knowing, resonance in the body. This is not someone that you've just daydreamed about, that you've never actually dated, that you've never actually known. This isn't a crush. This is someone where you experienced each other on a profound level. There was a past life connection here. And when there's a past life connection, there is immediate resonance once you meet. If that didn't happen, this isn't for you. There were hardships, there were obstacles, there were red flags. There was something here about, I mentioned codependency earlier. So perhaps codependency was part of an addiction or a karmic pattern that you were meant to break, and this person was meant to help you. There were also parts of yourself that this person was bringing up so that you could release it, whether that's mindset patterns, responsibility, accountability, the shadow work that comes in when you meet someone of this caliber. And obviously, we'll get into it with the other decks and see what that could have been. The liberation that you felt, I think, created a standard for relationships for you, and not just romantically, across the board. Perhaps you were someone who really, like, again, especially if codependency is something you understand, perhaps you were very comfortable for a long time with sort of shape shifting into whoever you needed to be in order to please everyone around you, in order to be of service to people around you. Perhaps you experienced conditional love growing up. And so you sort of attached yourself to this limiting belief that need equates to love. And so you always wanted to be of service. You wanted to be the healer, the fixer. You attached yourself to an identity, a role that allowed you to believe that you were worthy of love because you did not feel worthy of love by just being yourself. And I think this person came in and showed you, oh my gosh, you don't have to do anything. I love you. Like, you're incredible. You're amazing. And what's funny is I can almost feel the resistance in accepting that. But again, it feels like something happened here where you're realizing, like, this is a soulmate of mine. This is someone very significant and important to me, to my trajectory. And perhaps not just in a way of like, oh, yeah, that was a great lesson, like they were important. This is someone that you clearly see in your future with engagement coming up here, and perhaps want to form some sort of higher commitment to, or some sort of ascension when it comes to the level of commitment within your partnership. I'm not saying you jump into that, especially to, we'll see like where you left off and what needs to happen here. But ooh, passion. Listen, with that past life energy, the passion is there. Playfulness. See, exactly. Your inner child felt safe. That's how you know. The inner child that perhaps was hiding for a long time, or that only felt safe to come out when you were by yourself, felt safe around this person. There was a level of play that you got to experience with each other that was different than what you may have thought play to be as an adult. Religious factors? True love. Oh my gosh. All right. I mean, past life, reconciliation, honeymoon, engagement, soulmate, heart to heart, true love. This is important. This is an important connection. We'll see if it comes out later, because I always am a little apprehensive to say these words in these readings, but the religious factors card in this deck also for me symbolizes twin flame connections or divine counterpart connections. So I do feel like this love awakened something with you. There was something that was activated in your coming together, which again feels like that was the point. Y'all planned this before you ever came into these bodies, into this world. And there's a part of you that knew that, but then I feel like there's also doubt that came in. We'll see. One more for true love. Oof, please hold. Finances and career. There was healing here for you. I mean, there was healing across the board, it feels like, but especially when it came to your masculine energy, when it came to your worthiness, we talked about that, which equates also to your finances. That may have been a sore spot for you, or you may have had some trouble when it came to your finances and career, or perhaps that's an issue right now, or has been an issue that prevented you from coming forward when it pertains to this relationship, to voicing how you're feeling, to having that heart to heart conversation. One more on finances and career. Oh, okay, we got two. Make the effort, love yourself first. Yeah, see, worthiness wounds were highlighted with this. And again, I think it was helping you see what was getting in the way of even your own personal pursuits. So whether it's your career, your job, your purpose, which is you, not your career, you, your money situation, your foundation, your stability, your security, all of these different things. This person, this relationship really highlighted how the root of what you were experiencing went way deeper than what you may have realized. There was a level of self-respect that perhaps you were not fully embodied in. There was a level of worthiness we talked about. There was also, again, that codependency, that conditional love that you may have rationalized, especially if it was coming from people closest to you, your family, your parents, your siblings, your best friends, whatever, that you may have sort of always made excuses for, so that you didn't have to realize that there was an imbalance here when it came to the relationships that you valued, and that perhaps you were not being loved in a way that was true. And now this came in and you realize, like, oh, wow, this is what I've been missing. This is what I have not been experiencing in my relationships, this level of acceptance, this level of respect, this level of reciprocation, this level of love, and not love with a motive of something, just pure love of someone seeing me and accepting me and being patient with me and being compassionate with me and whatever else. I feel like with make the effort here, it says, great love is worth taking the steps you're guided to take. And I wanted to say, is worth taking the risk. So perhaps this does feel like a risk for you in some way, but I feel like this is also pertaining to your finances and career. So perhaps your experience with this person gave you a level of confidence and audacity to really go after the things that you want. There's something about you just really kind of waking up from a deep slumber that you didn't even realize you were in. Feels like you were sort of operating in this experience, kind of half asleep a little bit, just going with the motions, operating on autopilot, especially with that free yourself card, cutting to forgiving and learning. As you release and heal the past, you experience more love in your present moments. All right, let's get into it. Ooh, excuse me. That was a big one. Excuse me. I know it's very sexy. All right. I want to see what happened in this partnership. Not cutting to wedding rings. Okay. All right. Universe, show me what happened within this partnership. Oh shit. What happened within this partnership? Hmm. Okay, we'll start here. So we got healthy choices, death, self-indulgence, and Cupid's arrow. Partying on the bottom, mask on the top. And we'll get some clarity and confirmation with these. It feels like within this partnership, first of all, I think with Cupid's arrow here, it came as a surprise. It says, have faith, love is coming, surprise and invitation, struck by love. I think you really did feel struck by this. It may have come at a time where you were going through a lot of endings with the death here. Perhaps with release your ex popping up at the top and this saying a relationship is over. Perhaps you met after something just ended. Um, and something else that could be coming up is perhaps you thought this was done and over. Either way, there's a lot of symbolism here with growth and transformation. And we talked about that already. This was an initiation for you in some way. There was a level of growth. And if this is for you, it's very clear to you who you were when you first met this person versus who you are right now watching this different. You went through a lot of healing cycles and transformation throughout the time between when you first met this person and where you are right now. And I feel like a lot of it had to do with your self-indulgence. Again, that self-worth, understanding your value, your shadow work, the appreciation of self, and also making healthier choices. Perhaps there was a lot of partying here where you were sort of just really leaning into too much self-indulgence, that it was becoming unhealthy for you. And perhaps you weren't able to care for yourself in the way that you needed. Um, but this was also showing you where, with the mask here, you were not being honest and true. Whether it was hiding your true feelings from this person or in relationships in general, hiding your needs, your wants, really just hiding how you're feeling. I feel like with this, there was a lot of pretending, a lot of, again, putting on a face, performing in whatever way that means for you, because that's what you were used to. I wouldn't be surprised if this person could see through that or perhaps see you in a way that others couldn't or wouldn't. And while that can feel nice to be seen, it can be scary as well because you can feel exposed. You may have felt gaslit by this person, or this person may have felt gaslit by you with this mask here. But again, I think what was coming up most is you felt like it. How do I say this? It's like you were convincing yourself that you were happy even though you knew you weren't, and this person could called your bluff. And through that experience, you saw how your choices, the decisions that you were making, your habits, your patterns, perhaps even the people you were around, your what the word that's coming up is vices, your addictions, whatever that might be, were showing you how you were not making healthy choices for yourself. And that was leading into part of why you felt the way that you did. You were running from something. Okay, let's get more on healthy choices. Not today. Boundaries and hurt, avoiding conversation, not dealing, still upset. Yeah, perhaps you didn't know how to set boundaries. It feels like maybe you do tend to lean a little more avoidant in situations where you either, what's coming up is either when you know you're at fault and you don't want to deal with it, or you get so upset that you almost don't understand how to show up at all. And so you might shut down. There is some sort of avoidance here. There was something that you weren't willing to deal with. You didn't want to face, you didn't want to see. Can we get more on that? What did they not want to deal with? There it is, twin flames. You didn't want to deal with the shit that you couldn't see, but you saw it reflected back at you through this person. This person was like the water that you needed while navigating the Sahara. And yet at the same time, it might have tasted a little bitter at times. Even though you wanted to come closer, I think you also pushed this away because of the intensity and because of the knowing that what you may have held on to help you cope or to get through life in whatever way wasn't going to work with this person. And perhaps you weren't ready to deal with all that. You weren't in a place where you wanted to change those habits. You didn't want to sacrifice what you've always known for whatever this journey would have entailed. But again, the imbalances that you were being shown through this connection, which again, I feel reflected the imbalances that you were then shown in all of your connections around you in every situation, was showing you the imbalance that you were experiencing within yourself. It's almost like you each represented the opposite side of the spectrum in order to show the other person, this is what you are not tapping into. This is something I'm good at that I can see you're not that great at, and I'm here to help, and vice versa. But again, if you're someone who has gone through life where you kind of always wore a mask and performed to make everyone feel like you know what you're doing, you're good, it's fine, whatever else, someone being able to see where you may be falling short or those red flags that we were talking about may have been perceived as, what's the word? May have been perceived as rejection in some way. Even if that person didn't necessarily say that, you may have perceived it in that way because you automatically, with the worthiness that we were talking about, you automatically were like, well, I guess I'm not going to be good enough, so just screw it. And you may have just sabotaged death. What I'm also hearing is like this was a death of the old self. And that's maybe what, again, you were holding on to. Yes, seduction, hooking up, third party. So that may have been the death of this connection. Perhaps there was third party interference, some sort of temptation, some attraction that may have come in the middle of this relationship. And perhaps that's why there's no coming back from this. Like I screwed up. Or if you're on the other end, they screwed up. Take it as it resonates. One more for that. Wedding rings again. Union and marriage, soul connection, everlasting love, devotion. You may, you or them, have been, maybe there was a marriage here. Or perhaps there was some sort of connection, or you may have felt devoted to someone else in some way. Or there may have also been differing views on marriage and union, what that looks like, that may have led to the end of this. But either way, there's third party interference of some kind. So it may have been a marriage, them being married to someone, you being married to someone, differing views on marriage, some sort of union or devotion to someone other than the two of you. There is some sort of third party interference or third party energy here. We got ascending at the bottom. That's good. Unconditional love at the top. Self indulgence. Abundance. So money again coming up here. Worthiness was such a thing with this. And that makes sense. Again, especially with twin flames coming up, you're meant to awaken and show each other your blind spots, your shadows. So again, when that energy comes, you're each doing it to each other, but a little differently. The lesson is the same, it shows up differently depending on how each person needs to receive it. But when it comes to this connection between both of you, there was abundance blocks here, whether that was in your tangible, financial stability and security, or your mindset. Perhaps you were always ruminating, overthinking, contemplating the worst, always falling into that mindset of pessimism, cynicism. And at the same time, I think no matter what, you knew that this was a blessing. This person, this relationship, this connection, the way it happened, the way you met, how it unfolded, despite all the messiness and the drama, perhaps, there was something that always told you this, I manifested this. I asked for this. This is a prayer answered. This is a blessing. And I think there is gratitude that you show for this, even if it's just for who you have become through this experience. Because remember, I said who you are right now watching this is not the same person you were when you met this person. And there's gratitude there. And perhaps there's also gratitude that you would want to express to this person. Perhaps they don't know that. Maybe there's also something here going back to heart conversations. Perhaps there's a part of you that wishes to express that to them, to express how much they mean to you, how pivotal their presence has been to you in your life, while also perhaps trying to make amends for the things that happened along the way that didn't reflect how much you care for this person and respect this person. Cupid's arrow. I think this also gave you a new outlook on faith. I think whatever your idea of God, the universe, trusting in a divine of whatever higher power has shifted through meeting this person. Again, it just smells like magic all around. Like this entire experience has just thrown you in a loop in a way where you're like, "Oh, I kind of don't really have a choice but to believe in something bigger than me here. There's definitely something else going on based on the experience I've been having with this situation." Passion again. Okay. Yeah. Insane chemistry, sparks, having fun, equal interest, burning desire. Like I said before, this showed you what reciprocation looks like. Both of you burned for each other in a very passionate way. However, what I'm also getting is perhaps that passion is what got in the way in the sense of that self-indulgence. There was no plan, there was no foundation to build on. It was just kind of like, oh my gosh, all the lights are on, all everything is turned up, like let's just go all the way. And it's, that may have created some hurdles. Let's get one more for that. The way these keep falling on the floor. Heartbroken. Deeply hurt and sad, feeling lost, grieving and despair, breakup. I feel like this really, I'm getting a couple things with this. I think this really did break your heart, whatever happened within this connection. I think it devastated you. And I don't know that it was necessarily known to the other person how deeply this hurt you. Maybe you kept that close to your chest. Perhaps you kept that mask on. Perhaps you didn't want the other person to know how sad and hurt you felt. And at the same time, going back to this death card, you may have been going through a breakup of some kind when you met this person. Perhaps you were feeling lost, and then boom, here's this person that now made you question everything. And again, with passion, talking about spark and this Cupid's arrow, and I talked about it feeling like you were literally struck by love. There was, you felt it immediately, especially with twin flames here. There was recognition immediately. That has been all throughout these cards. So if that is not something you experienced, this is not your reading. The second you locked eyes with this person, you said, "Oh shit, I know you. This is important. This is an important person. Everything in me is letting me know this is important. This is not just another experience. This is about to change something." And again, perhaps it happened when you were grieving, when you were in despair, when you just went through a breakup, when you were feeling lost, sad, hurt, something of that nature. I want to see how each of you feel about, well, before I do that, I'm being guided to go here. Hidden truth. I just want to see what I want to see what you're not saying, and I want to see what this other person is not saying. So, Spirit, please reveal what the person who is watching this message at this time is not saying, but wishes to say to the other person involved in this connection. Ooh, yeah. So we got, I replay. This is what you are not saying to this other person. I replay our conversations over and over. I wish things could be different. I wish I could share my good news with you. I lost myself for a little while on the bottom. I bury myself in work to forget you. So again, it feels like this person is heavy on your mind, but I don't think there's clearly not communication. Ooh, you don't like the way things are right now. You wish things could be different. But for whatever reason, there's something blocking you from making the effort to change these circumstances. And judging from what we saw, it might be connected to the way things fell apart. Perhaps you feel like there's no way, especially with I lost myself for a while there, why would they talk to me again? Why would they why would they even give me the time of day? But it does feel like something has happened. I wish I could share my good news with you. Perhaps things are looking up for you in different areas of your life, or what I'm also getting with that is even just day-to-day things. Like perhaps you guys had a would communicate things in ways where you were excited to share everything with this person. And so not having that now, you feel its absence. Okay. Actually, I just want to do one more shuffle to see if there's anything else. We'll take these out. Anything else this person is not saying to the other person involved? I couldn't let you get close to me. You were the best thing in my life. You don't know how hard it was to let you go. I know that I crossed the line with you. I feel you leaving me behind. So that's probably why this is coming up so hard right now. Perhaps you feel like you can feel the energy of this person detaching from you. It's clear that you care a lot about this person, but there was also a lot of fear, a lot of healing, and again, a lot of masking. You don't know how hard it was to let you go. You were the best thing in my life. And if this is all true for you, and so was what we just read, your actions clearly did not reflect the importance this person had in your life. If you were out entertaining third parties, other relationships, and again, we get it. Like, this is all a journey. There's karmic lessons here for a reason. But I'm just trying to paint a picture here that your actions, the way you would show up, especially with that mask, was not giving this. And this is the truth, the hidden truth that you are not expressing to this person. And all of this is saying how much this person meant to you, but you were not acting that way. And again, it says you didn't want them to get close to you. You couldn't let them for whatever fear or reason that was. All right. I'm afraid to contact you. It was my fault, but I blamed you. You've been healing. That's good. Whew. I love you. All right, let's see what they're not sharing with you. Okay, Spirit, what is the person on this collective's mind not sharing with them at this time? Funny, you got the same one. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Okay. Bottom of the deck. I love you. Ugh. I remember every detail of that day. So there may have been your last point of communication may have been or it may be the day you met. Either your last point of communication and or the day you met is something that the person on your mind remembers every detail of. I wish I could share my good news with you. They feel the same way. They miss talking to you. I'm grateful for the spiritual lesson. So we talked about that a little earlier. They can see why you came into their lives. Perhaps they're seeing their own evolution, their own transformation. And despite everything that happened, they're able to extract the fact that look at who I am. Look at what that experience gave me in connection to who I have grown to become. And they're grateful for that. They're grateful for you. I hid who I really am from you. So, okay, they might be masking as well, which makes sense because, again, with twin flames, there's mirroring happening on both sides. You are both doing the same thing, just a little different. They also got, you don't know how hard it was to let you go. So again, you may have felt like it was super easy for them to let you go, like it didn't really matter to them, or, maybe they moved on quicker, or they seem happier, or this didn't seem to phase them, but it was hard for them too. I want to tell you how I feel. I don't react when people mention you. I look for you everywhere. So again, there's a longing on both ends. You both clearly think about each other. You both care about each other, and you both seem to be masking the depth of this connection and its weight that it has left on you. Ugh, yeah. Okay. Hmm. Just want to get some messages from the universe on this connection. Universe. What is your message in regards to this connection for this collective? Universe's perspective. Got abundance again. Second chance on the bottom. This relationship deserves a second chance. Addiction at the top. We talked about addictions, and addiction is affecting this relationship. Twin flame again. All right. Okay, yeah. We got unavailable, abundance, twin flame, strictly sexual, mastery, release, and rejection. Perhaps one or both of you wondered if this was a strictly sexual connection, and maybe that's what made you question the validity of it, or if it really was what you made it out to be. Again, the passion is coming up here, and passion kept coming up. So perhaps that level of chemistry and passion made you wonder, like, is this all it really is? Like, is this just a physical connection? Is this just something that is lust? Is this lust? However, clearly that's not the case. Again, this was a connection that really brought awareness to your abundance blocks mentally first, your beliefs on your worthiness, yourself, if you could see yourself clearly, your work, your place in the world. It feels like both of you. I was going to say one or both of you, but I really do feel like both of you were unavailable for this at the time. You were unable to show up for each other in the ways that you needed because there were other things that we saw earlier that were going on for each of you that made it difficult to show up in a way that the other person deserved. But you also got mastery, you got release, you got rejection. So again, we talked about rejection. It feels like, again, one or both of you, probably both, given the dynamic, felt rejected by the other person. You felt like you were being cast aside, you weren't good enough, this wasn't going to work, whatever else. But this is saying this rejection is actually divine protection. There were lessons you needed to learn, there were karmic cycles you needed to break, there were things that you still needed to refine, embody, integrate in order to be in a place where this connection could actually thrive. But again, mastery, you've learned the spiritual lesson. And release. Perhaps part of that addiction is the obsession. Can you accept what this is and surrender to it? What are you holding on to? We also got release your ex earlier. So perhaps there was something in previous relationships or encounters or partnerships that you experienced that you were bringing with you into this partnership. And the universe was like, that absolutely not. That's not going to work here. And that might have been part of the friction that was coming up. True love underneath, second chance. So we've gotten true love before. This love is emotional, physical, and unconditional. One more. Intuition. You already know the answer you seek. All right. Universe is like, we've been giving you signs about this forever. If you don't just listen, but oh, it's easier said than done sometimes. All right, let's see what's blocking movement forward. What needs to universal love? Hmm. Earth, grounding this down. Discernment. All right, spirit. What activations are necessary in order to move this relationship forward in a way that is aligned with everyone's highest good? Ooh, transition. Heart chakra, of course. Of course. Which again, as I like to remind you, perception on the bottom. Your view. The demon of the heart chakra is grief. Grief kept coming up. So perhaps part of this journey was also revealing unexpressed grief that needed to come up and out so that you could create space for new energy in your heart space. Sacral chakra as well, coherence. One more, please. Compassion, of course. Consciousness at the bottom. Belief, number 11 at the top. All right. So again, these are the activations that are necessary in order for this to move forward in alignment of your both of your highest good. So we got transition. The number 43 may be significant. This may be a number that you are seeing often. You may be 43 years old. You decide. The frequency of transition supports our deep understanding of the ever changing nature of existence and our lives, so that we can learn to let go, surrender to the process, and allow transition to occur with ease and grace. So, again, this energy of letting go and surrendering to the process instead of trying to control everything. Heart chakra, the number 4, you might be seeing repeating fours. You might be a life path 4. The frequency of the heart chakra, the green flower of life, supports our capacity to love deeply and unconditionally. Its healing properties harmonize the mind and the body. Change, the number 12. So you might be seeing 1212. And we'll go through some possible dates as well afterwards. The frequency of change supports our ability to gracefully dance with the forever changing nature of reality, both inward and outward, so that we can appreciate the sweet release of the old and the birth of the new. So, yet again, there is a theme here of releasing the old and embracing new energy, embracing a new beginning, a new start. Compassion, the number 15. The frequency of compassion supports our ability to stand by others without judgment and be the divine mediator between heaven and earth, spirit and matter, so that unconditional love can flow from source through our heart and into the world. So compassion will be needed in order for this to align, especially with what we mentioned about what may have occurred to create separation. Coherence, the number 13. Oh, belief was 11. So we have 11, 12, 13. The 11th through the 13th of this month might be significant. Anyway, the frequency of coherence supports our ability to harmonize the frequency of the heart with the frequency of the mind for an optimal ability to create the reality that we desire. So again, finding balance between your heart and your mind. We talked about that. And sacral chakra. The frequency of the sacral chakra, the orange flower of life, supports our ability to flow with our desires and stimulates our creative power to manifest success and abundance in our lives. So abundance is huge here, which makes sense because, again, twin flame collectives, and I know this term has created its own sort of monster within the community, but in its truest form, it's one soul and two bodies. You are literally each other and you are mirroring each other for that reason. It is also difficult for that reason because you are coming face to face with the parts of yourself that you don't normally see. And that is meant to help you heal and create inner union between your yin and yang, your masculine and feminine, create wholeness within yourself, that balance within all the dualities that exist within you to create a third thing now. 1 + 1 = 3. It is creating a whole new energy through the merging of these two, through the balancing of the opposite poles. And the way that I've laid the cards out with transition and then compassion, heart, coherence, change, sacral. It feels like part of the transition that needs to happen is embodying this compassion. That heart to heart conversation from the top is going to require compassion. It's going to require your willingness to see the perspective of the other person. It's going to require compassion over the fact that perhaps they were acting outside of themselves. It was in your cards. I lost myself for a while. With heart chakra and coherence, there is an imbalance. What is your heart saying versus what is your mind saying? Are they connected? Are they imbalanced? Right now, it doesn't feel that way. I think there's still some fear in the heart, which is feeding the doubt of the mind. And then change and sacral. Change is the only constant in this life. It is the only guarantee. How can you get creative sacral chakra. When it comes to the change that you are being asked to embrace, that flow, sacral chakra is water. Water will adapt to its environment. Water can take on any form that's necessary. Are you able to flow like water? Are you able to ride the waves of this partnership, regardless of how big or small they are? Are you committed to this path and riding it out? Perhaps that's part of the change that is being asked of you. Okay, so some perhaps important dates or birthdays, something that a memory. We have April 15th, April 13th, April 2nd, April 12th, December 2nd, December 13th, December 15th, February 12th, February 4th, February 13th, February 15th. All right. Uh, okay, let's get some astrology. No, we'll do that at the end. Let's see next steps with the tarot. Okay, Spirit, what are you guiding this collective to do at this time if this whole reading has resonated? Ooh, my goodness. Clearly unblock that throat chakra. Oh, how funny. That came up in my TikTok reading yesterday. Lots of reversals. So lots of reflection happening here. And again, sometimes that's necessary in order to bring things back into balance. You need to see where they were out of balance and you need to see how you played a role in that because you cannot control other people. You can only control yourself. And so there's a lot of reflection that's coming up right now for you to take accountability and take responsibility for where you played a role in this. We got the Five of Cups, the Page of Swords, the Five of Pentacles, the Knight of Swords, and the Six of Pentacles all in reverse. So there is, again, a need to move on from the past and find acceptance so that you can have peace with what has occurred up until this point. There is something that you are overcoming, grief coming up with the Five of Cups in reverse. Again, we've been talking about that, whether that was grief of a relationship, grief of a person, grief of unexpressed desires, of whatever that might be, in order for you to have hope again. Hope is returning with this card here. And that might have also required some self forgiveness. Again, we talked about compassion. It's not just compassion for someone else, it's compassion for yourself. If you showed up in a way that you are not proud of, take accountability, take responsibility, create repair if that's what it is that you require in order to move forward. However, also have some compassion for yourself. If you lost yourself for a while, there were clearly other things going on. Be honest about what that was. We have the Page of Swords in reverse here. That talks about all talk, no action. So again, was this part of the issue? If you're scatterbrained right now, if you're all over the place, then you need to ground down and you need to figure out what is the plan. The last thing you want to do is open the door to this to repeat the same cycle as before. If the issue in the past was that there was no plan and it was just full-fledged in emotion and sporadic, whatever, impulsivity, don't do that again. What is the plan? What is the goal? Ground it down. Quiet your mind. Finances coming up a few times here. So perhaps there was some sort of financial loss that affected this. And maybe even again, some health issues that may have happened. But there was some overcoming of adversity here. You faced a lot of challenges, and we talked about that. But this is about it coming back into balance with the Six of Pentacles in reverse. This relationship, like perhaps others, was one sided. Perhaps there was some sort of abuse of generosity, either on your end or theirs, some sort of power play that was overshadowing the true feelings and emotion of this partnership, some selfishness, some strings attached that weren't explicitly expressed. And with the Knight of Swords in reverse, I mean, just impulsive, reckless, unfocused. So we'll get more, but again, this is guidance on what to do next. It's guidance to reflect on all of this behavior. Where were you contributing to this that led to why this didn't work out in the beginning? And where are you with it now? Can you acknowledge where perhaps you were a bit rash, a bit forceful, unfocused, a bit scatterbrained, a little all over the place, maybe even aggressive, maybe a little selfish, maybe a little arrogant, maybe a little emotionally manipulative, maybe a bit imbalanced, one-sided. Five of Cups. Yeah, you were playing it safe because there was a fear of the unknown. This is very similar to my TikTok reading that I did last night. So if you're on TikTok, check that out. I just posted it. I'm wearing sweats, gray sweats. Again, there was a lot of fear here. We talked about this. And so you attempted to play it safe. You wanted to avoid risk with the Two of Wands in reverse, which is funny because I said that earlier. And again, there was no plan. There was a lack of planning, and you wanted to stay in your comfort zone, which required you to not take action because taking action meant that you had to now venture off into the unknown because you didn't know how to do this. This was different than everything else, and it scared you. More for that. Yeah. You were paranoid and exhausted. And because of that, perhaps you were a little stubborn and rigid. It was your way or no way. There was no room to compromise because you were so overwhelmed. And again, it feels like there was a lot of other things going on that perhaps you didn't share with this person or they weren't completely aware of, or maybe you projected onto this person. And instead of, well, again, it wasn't meant to come together until it's meant to come together. These are all lessons that are coming up. But this is showing you where you lacked boundaries. And it was also showing you where perhaps you weren't able to compromise with another. It was either this or that. There was no like, how do you feel? Where are you at? What do you propose? What would help make you feel safe? There was no room for the other person to share and allow you to come together to an agreement. Here we go. One more time. Yeah, you were scared. Fool in reverse. So many reversals. If all of these are reversals, then you need to reflect. You really need to look into inward to see what contributed to the clear disconnect that we saw between how you feel about the situation and what's actually happening and your role in it. Again, it feels like you were unprepared. You were afraid to start something new. You held back a lot. There was no direction. You may have had poor judgment when it came to this person, when it came to the situation, and whatever else. So these are all things that you would want to be reflecting on at this time, especially with Venus still in retrograde. Yeah, the lovers in reverse. You needed that self-love first. There was, again, like I said, an imbalance internally and perhaps some residual pain from other relationships that created conflict, it created arguments, it created disharmony. Perhaps it led to making some bad choices that didn't align with how you truly felt or what you wanted. And that then led to detachment, perhaps even some indecision. Keeps coming up cross, so we'll leave it cross, the star crossed. This is where I feel like you are right now. Yeah, Two of Pentacles at the bottom. You don't know which way to go. So even if this entire reading resonated with you, I think you're still in a place right now where you're weighing out whether or not you should do anything about this. And I think what has happened leading up to this point weighs on you a lot and you're afraid of opening that door again. And then there's another part of you that really wants to have faith and hope in this and know that there is a way to overcome the hurdles and be stronger for it. Again, this is leading me back to that coherence card. It feels like that head and heart situation of I don't know. I don't know how to move forward with this because there's so much that would need fixing or balancing. Oh my goodness. Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Everything is in reverse. Nine of Cups at the top. If this entire reading resonated with you, you really need to reflect on your resistance to change. What are you unwilling to change? What are you afraid of? You are clinging to control with something that is creating difficulty in bringing this partnership that you clearly value to balance. I want one more for that. Yeah, Two of Pentacles. We just said it. Perhaps you're weighing out your options because you have more than one choice. And maybe there's a decision here. And if that is true, what I'm also hearing is one choice allows you to stay in your comfort zone and what you've always known. And another choice is asking you to change in some way. There's some fundamental changes that will be required. The Devil in reverse at the bottom. So again, there's some shadow work that's being faced, a lot of releasing that's happening. The Moon. Yeah, lots of shadows coming up. There is a deep fear of the unknown and a lot of confusion that's coming up right now because there are unconscious fears that are coming up to the surface when it comes to you and this level of intimacy, this level of companionship, this level of partnership. What are the illusions that you keep holding on to? Whether it's a belief, an assumption, and what I'm also getting is an illusion of it feels like you keep trying to fill in the blanks for this other person so that you don't have to have the conversation because then you could just say what you need to say in order to rationalize not doing the scary thing. Your shadow is coming out to play and it's asking you, are you ready? Oops, I just cut the card on the tower. Change is happening either way. Ace of Pentacles, a new opportunity, a new beginning. But with all these reversals, you really got to go inward and face yourself. Face that shadow. Face those fears. Face what is keeping you stuck on this same karmic wheel. It's all coming up right now for a reason. And again, this Libra full moon is probably only going to highlight and illuminate that even more. I feel like I need more with that because that was a lot of reversals. Hold on. I'm gonna grab this check. Shadow. Oh, my back's getting a little tense. All right. What is this collective afraid of? You're afraid of being seen. You're afraid of the fact that you would have to share how much you've been suffering. You're afraid of making the wrong decision, heartache and loss, a mental card as well. You're also afraid of missing this with the waiting game here. There's a part of you that feels like so much time has already passed. And so I can feel the sense of urgency of like, if I don't do something now, then, and perhaps that's why we got so many of that scattered energy earlier, because it feels like there's a part of you that knows, like, if I don't act on this now, I might lose this forever. There's a fear here of again, being seen for all that you are. There's a fear that's coming up when it comes to sharing the suffering that you've been dealing with silently in your mind. There's a fear of making the wrong emotional choice. There's a fear of the timing of it all. There's a fear of, we got fertility here, which again, this is the Empress. So this can be birthing a new beginning, but I mean, I feel like for some it's actual fertility. Maybe that's a fear of yours, pregnancy, family. Maybe that you have some fertility issues that this person doesn't know about, and you fear that that might be a deal breaker. And we also got spiritual strength. Perhaps you fear whether or not you have the spiritual capability to withstand the level of commitment and focus and discipline that this relationship would entail. Emotional loss. You're afraid of getting hurt again. You're afraid of your heart being broken. Okay. All valid fears. Spirit, show me the truth of this situation. What is the truth of this situation? Okay, that's way too many. I'm going to only take the one card that was facing up. Well, let's get a couple more. What's the truth of this situation? You're withdrawing emotionally. That's the detachment, the separation that you're feeling. Deception and envy. Your mind is lying to you. This is a mental card. That's the truth. The truth is you're lying to yourself. And again, that is your shadow, partnerships and alliances, a spiritual connection. This is a crash course on shadow work. We just talked about what you're afraid of. And all of those fears, I'm not saying they're invalid or they're not credible, but a lot of them you are creating. Because the truth of the situation here, we got positive movement forward, a physical card, material and spiritual prosperity, a physical card, wisdom, firm foundation, balance, and conflict and defeat, a mental card. This is in your mind. That's the truth. In reality, there is opportunity here to apply the wisdom that you have gained and will continue to gain because together you teach each other constantly. You balance each other and therefore allow each other to also harness the balanced embodiment within yourself that allows each of you individually to have the prosperity and the firm foundation within yourself to show up in the world the way that you need to have the prosperity and the security and stability that you crave. Positive movement forward, firm foundation. And again, don't forget that we talked about the activations that are needed in order for this to come into alignment. Change, compassion, your heart chakra, your sacral chakra. Partnerships and alliances coming back out again. Just as another note, this may be a creative partnership as well. It feels like you're meant to create something together. Maybe that's the fertility card coming up as well. But yeah, the truth of this, again, you got light, which is the sun card. This brings you joy. This brings you happiness. That's the truth. The truth of this situation is it offers you hope that perhaps is scary. Maybe you have reconciled with the fact that you no longer hope for things anymore. You don't want for things. You don't long for things because your life has shown you that hoping only leads to disappointment. The sun is the happiest card of the whole deck. And you got that when it came to the truth of this situation. You also got passion ignited. If we took a shot for every time passion came up, I would be drunk. But this isn't just physical passion. And remember earlier we brought up how you thought maybe perhaps this is just sexual passion. This is spiritual. This awakened your heart space. This ignited the passion within you when it came to yourself, your life, your dreams, your goals, the way you show up in the world, your imprint in the world, your legacy. But we also got sacrifice. Something needs to be released and let go. You are being asked to sacrifice something. And that is what is scaring you. Just really quick, I want to know what is being asked? What is, being asked to be sacrificed? Deception and envy, your mental habits, so that love can begin. Emotional card. I saw a saying earlier today that I loved because it rang true for me. And that was reality is far kinder to you than your mind. for whoever I'm talking to. Your mind has done a number on you, and I empathize with that because I've gone through it and sometimes still do. There's a reason I connect with the communities that I connect with, and there's a reason that you find value in what I teach. It's because we've both gone through it. And I am here to remind you, your mind lies to you. You cannot depend on this to tell you the truth of all things because it's just going to tell you what it knows so that you repeat a cycle because it loves repetition. You're going to need to do the scary thing of going into the unknown, taking the path where you don't know where you're going to end up, where it's going to lead, what's going to happen. And again, there's a lot of fear given from past experiences that is asking you to stay in a path where you know where it ends up because it's predictable, it feels safe, it gives you control. And yet again, I'm reminding you that control is an illusion. That is an illusion. All you're doing is repeating the same cycle so that you end up in the same place. All right, let's get these astrological guide. These are some astrological signifiers that may be connected to you or the person connected to this reading, or perhaps even placements to look at in your chart to help with more information on what's coming up for you in regards to the resistance and blocks. Okay, you may have Neptune in Aquarius in the third house, or Aquarius ruling your third house, or Neptune in your third house. You may have a Gemini moon. You may have Gemini ruling your 12th house, or you may have your moon in the 12th house. That would make a lot of sense, actually. And we have Mercury in Libra. So you can have your Mercury in, wait, is that Mercury? Yes. Yes. Your Mercury may be in Libra. Libra may rule your seventh house, or your Mercury may be in your seventh house. Last one. Okay, Pluto. You may have Pluto in Pisces, Pluto in your fourth house, or Pisces ruling your fourth house. All right. Thank you as always for watching. If you want to book a personal reading with me, just hit that link down below. If you want to look at your astrology together so we can see what shadows are lurking in your chart or perhaps what sort of past life karma or karmic signatures are in your chart that are contributing to this situation, you can book a session with me for that as well. Make sure that you are subscribed to my newsletter at returntoself.me so you can keep updated on all of the mystical, magical things that we talk about on my Substack. And let me see, is there anything else? I think that's pretty much it. I mean, if you're watching this as soon as it posts, then you still have an opportunity to join me Wednesday evening, April 9th, for my Shadow Work Through Tarot and Poetry event in Burbank, California at 6 p.m. It's all going to be centered around this upcoming Libra full moon on Saturday. So we're going to be diving into shadow prompts relating to partnerships, balance, and harmony. If you can make it, great. If not, hopefully I'll be able to do it again. You can also purchase the replay workshop from my initial Shadow Work Through Tarot and Poetry event on my site. So thank you for trusting me and for giving me this time to share this guidance. I wish you the best of luck on this journey. Trust yourself and remember you are worthy of this love. You are worthy of this experience and this partnership. So don't let your mind stand in the way and feed you lies to prevent you from experiencing it.